welcome to the call. Our existing members, Big Artie Neal, think welcome. Welcome to the call. We're glad you're with us. We are really happy to have you all on board with us. And as always, and enjoy the call. I think we're going to have a really good one. Two things. Kay, please start too, because I do want to talk about the seniors call tonight and spend a few minutes, and I'll tell you why when Kay comes on. But number two, I didn't want to get into depth tonight about this, but I'm just going to make a comment, and maybe we'll talk in the future. As you all know, the past president, 41, let's just say George Bush, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into his initials and all that, but passed away. They had a huge service for him. This whole week has been nothing about, the great man he was, the terrific patron he was, just a humble person. There are two sides to everything. And myself, as a very strong belief in Dr. Wallace and what he has done in changing the world, you're going to say I'm his follower. I will say that I am very much respectful of what Dr. Wallace did. Let me be very clear of something. This was a man who put his life out there. This is a man who believed in his convictions and went for it. This is a man who also suffered some terrible consequences because of his belief system. And I respect everything he did. When you read his book, Frank R. Wallace Collection, 1990 to 2000, there are excerpts about George Bush, the one who just passed. George Bush wasn't really a nice man in many ways. George Bush was a real parasitical elite. His family was. And there are many excerpts of really how he worked to destroy people who thought for themselves, people who tried to make changes for the world, people who wanted to make people be more entrepreneurs. George Bush didn't like the changes. George Bush didn't like people growing. George Bush did not want individuals such as Dr. Wallace and ourselves to move forward. Read the book, you'll know more. Again, I'm not doing a class on that tonight, but I am going to give you a reality check. That's really what I'm talking about, is a reality check. The Bush family, if you do the history, you'll read a lot about them when it comes to Saudi Arabia and other factors. And even with 9/11, I still have my doubts about whether or not they were involved or not, and I'll leave it at that. But our country is very interesting, kind of a fickle group. We're going through a very, very turbulent time right now. This is a catastrophic era, and Dr. Wallace predicted this in his creative predictions. This is not voodoo predictions, okay? Be very careful when you use the word predictions. People still think of them as psychic. This is not psychic. Dr. Wallace looked at the world the way it was worked on, and he was very much alive and very much involved, and obviously was in jail during the time of Bush, and Bush was president. Even though it was the early 90s, and then he was still going in court and trial at that time. And he let us know in his writings, which is the Frank R. Wallace collection specifically, that we were going to be in really hot soup right now, and we're in it. Our world is at the most chaotic time I think it has been in quite a while. Now, I refer a lot back to Watergate. Obviously, I was a young man, but I knew what Watergate was all about. I was in my early 20s. I knew what was happening. I knew what Nixon and the whole factor. But we are in such turbulence that we have to be prepared to make the actual paradigm shift. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that we are the ones who are going to use a mentality shift of our brain power, of our intelligence, of our consciousness, of our honesty, our morality. And we're going to bring that back to the world in a leadership mentality. We're going to bring people from followers to leaders. We're still in a world of followers, and we're still in the world of blind faith. Two very evil areas to be involved in, and we're seeing the results of it. Bush is gone. Fortunately, his dynasty is still here. Don't kid yourselves because we had a few people get up and talk about how great he was. Matter of fact, if you know, he actually, which I get a kick out of this, he actually put his whole funeral together and prepared it, and he decided who was going to speak and who wasn't going to speak. I thought that was very interesting. He orchestrated his own funeral. I guess he was able to do that. Not many people get that shot, but he picked who was going to speak and who was not going to speak. And so just all I want to say is been mourning. They have been, this man is like better than any kind of God that you could envision, the way it's written. The man is just on a pedestal. Well, let's kick off the pedestal, okay? The man was a man. I don't consider him as a God man because of the moral issues. He may have lived behind the religion because he was very much into organized religion, as his son is. But the evil that was done was done. So when we, as Americans, let's stay with our country, see these individuals praised, somebody dies, they go through all this pomp and circumstance, please be realistic to what is happening. When you see the news media, when you see conversations between the Senate, the Congress, all these factors, be cautious. And come to NeoThink, is my opinion, and learn this information. Tonight, we're going to talk about poker, and we're going to talk about what poker means, and what did Dr. Wallace mean by poker when he wrote this book, and what did it refer to. And we're going to talk about three particular components. We're going to talk about discipline, thought, and control. These are three basic foundations of NeoThink. And we're going to dig into them. Last week we started. This week we're actually going to do all three and coordinate them. So be prepared to listen, be prepared to take notes, and be prepared to learn. And learn how this works. Because I think you're going to have some different outlooks about discipline, thought, and control when we end tonight. So be ready. So Charlie, I'd like to introduce Charlie Moore first, our existing members. Thanks for joining us. We're glad to have you with us. Charlie Moore is with me tonight, and I was on a roll. How you doing, Charlie?
Good, Steve. Yeah, you were on a roll. It was a good one, though.
Yep, it had to be said. I said to you earlier, I called Charlie earlier, and I said, I'm not sure we're going to address this, but I have had people contact me and say, aren't you going to address the Bush issue? This is something that was affecting Dr. Wallace. It was right in his face. I mean, Bush and them wanted to really destroy him. And I said, yeah, I will, but I had to think how I wanted to handle it, and I think this was just enough. I think we got everybody thinking. That's what I believe, and that's what I would.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that it just, the more that you get integrated, the more that you're around NeoThink, and then you see how people act when a president dies. And I'm thinking, well, what did he ever do for us? What has any president?
Hi there, this is Big V, and I'm gonna bring up my opinion on this Mr. Bush that died at age 94. Everyone has to use their own judgments. You heard Steve Fagan's view and how he feels about it. You have to make your own judgments and your own decisions, okay? Just because Steve Fagan feels that way doesn't mean everyone else is going to feel that way. And my feelings on Mr. Bush passing away is neutral. I don't really have words to say. But anyways, that's what I'm going to just tell you. You have to make your own judgments and your own decisions on how you feel about Mr. Bush passing away at the age of 94. All right? All right, we're going to go back to the Thursday night 5 p.m. call. Thank you.
Because we do have a very special end-of-the-year program on Tuesday.
Speak about Tuesday.
Go ahead.
LaRouche has a headline here, Out of the British Bushes and Into the Future. So I found very interesting.
Well, there's definitely food for thought there. I get that
Yes.
one.
Yes.
And we'll see. We got a lot to do on things and that, so we're going to see on that. But I'm not going to get on a political realm tonight. But I'm glad
let's
we did
go
that.
into Tuesday. We
Good.
have a senior call coming up. Of course, any age group is welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a special speaker coming in, Sue Silver. And what is it that she's going to speak on?
Sue's got a very interesting program. Many of you may know that all of us come with, we're coaches, and even Kay's a coach. We have life coaches. Kay's, I call she's our meditation coach. But she's the guru. We all have specialties we do. And Sue is a health coach. And about a month ago, she called me. And she said, Steve, I've come into something that's fascinating. It's part of the new world of the 21st century. It's definitely something that helps us move and feel better. You don't need to take a pill, but it has to do with energy and the power of energy. and there's these energy programs, and we've been talking about energy. Obviously, we talk about it. We do our health program with the universe, and as neo-thinkers, the power of energy is very, very important. And to study it and understand it, we're still learning. And by the way, some of you out there may say, I'll take a pill. Well, you may not have to take a pill. Why don't you see there might be an alternative to pills that are safer and better for you? And Sue has a program she's associated with, and she wants to present the program to us. And I went on the line. I've seen it. I've looked at it. And I'm just going to say to you, it's very fascinating. It's a new way of looking at health. It's a 21st century way of looking at health. And it's a neo-think way of looking at health because of the energy fields that it brings to your body and how to work it. So Sue is going to be on this Tuesday coming up as our guest speaker to present this program and show you where you can go to find this information. So I'm excited by this and having to have Sue come on and then break it down a bit. Because remember, Sue's a neo-thinker like you and I. And she's moved on with her coaching business, and she's making income as a coach. That's what we're all doing, being independent incomes. And she wants to share her findings with the members, and that's what we do. So remember, this Tuesday is the last Seniors Golden Seekers call of the year. There's no more after this till next year, till January. So you want to get on this call for many reasons. Sue Moore's program is one of them. Kay and I will be talking and doing some bantering about the brain powers. And I have a few examples to use for you for affirmation processes. We will be doing Ask the Mentor, Kay. We'll bring that out.
We're going to do what?
Ask the Mentor.
Oh, yes,
questions,
yes,
comments.
yes. Yes, we are.
So that's been very successful the last two programs, and we're going to do it again. So if you've got questions or comments about the literature you want to know about, bring it to us. We'll be glad to address it with you. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to have Greet and Meet. I already know a few people who are brand new, who've been around, but they don't know about us. Now they do, and they're coming on the call Tuesday, so we're going to hear from them.
Oh, excellent.
I always love hearing members who have been in the shadows, Let's bring them out.
Yes.
So we'll be doing that. We'll hear about upcoming clubhouses and activities, but it's going to be a very festive, very, I would say, integrated, informative meeting. If you're on this call and you're available Tuesday morning, there should be no excuse you're not on the call. Call will be at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. It's in the morning, Tuesday morning, the 11th. Okay? The phone number. You have it, okay, before I give... it's much more looser for conversation, which I think is very important. So you want to come, you have comments and thoughts, come to the call. Bring your thoughts, bring your comments, bring your questions. Let's hear it, and let's hear what you have to say. So come, bring your questions about the literature, where you're stuck, what you need guidance in. If we have to, we'll pull out a book and look at what you're talking about. We'll see the pages, and we'll see what Mark Hamilton or Dr. Wallace was referring to in their words and messages. So be on the call. This Tuesday, again, December 11th, 11 o'clock a.m., it's in the morning, Eastern, 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific. Central time is 10, and you can work down the time zones. So you got that. Now, here's the phone number. I'll give it twice. You already all know this pretty much, but I'll do it twice, and I'll do it slow. 425. Join us and gain some benefit. Kay, I'm looking forward to the call. Thanks for being on.
I am too.
Thank you. Thanks, Kay. Okay, Charlie, anything else on your end you want to bring Ed to?
No.
Okay. One last piece of housekeeping. Yeah, go ahead. And then I want to give the phone number for the paid playback. But go ahead.
Okay. No, I said I'm ready to play some poker.
Let's play poker. Good. Get the chips out, get the cards ready, get the ice out, and let's do it. Okay. And you decide what you want to drink. That's your decision.
Yeah.
Okay. I always think of poker. I see the nice, the bourbon. I see the whole thing, Okay, here we go. Some guys love to just do the beer. I know. And some guys just like a soda or water. It's cool. All right, here we go. So everybody, especially the new members, understand something. We have a playback for this call. Even what you just heard the last 5 or 7 minutes is information and mentoring that we're giving you. Even giving you a program that's going to help you is part of the mentor process. So remember, this is a big picture of information. You're not just coming on and just hearing what we have to say out of a book. You're learning a lot about the society and what we're doing. So here we go. You want to hear the playback for tonight's call. Here's the phone number access code, and you'll be asked to have a reference number. So I'm going to be giving you 3 pieces of information. I will give each number twice. So the main number to get to the playback for tonight's call is 53214. If you're abusive, if you make other members feel less of who they are, I will call you out on it. I've already had to do it twice, and I will continue. I love all of you. And I love you because I'm a like-minded person like you. And I will not allow any neo-cheater to try to take your good feelings about yourself. Trust me, everybody, I will not ever allow somebody to play that. Even if they want to attack me personally. And I've been attacked. But you understand, on these calls, when they try to attack me, they're attacking you as if you're a stupid person. And none of you are stupid. And they are belittling you as they're trying to belittle me. Because they're saying to you, why are you on this call with this idiot? Or this person? What are you getting out of this? And they try to mock it, but they're mocking you also. And I'm asking you to understand is I will never allow anybody to do that to you. And I will call them. And many of you have been on calls already, and last week was one of them, where I will mute them out, and I will take them, and not to be on the call again. They are out. They're off. They can come on the call and listen. I don't care. But I will not bring them up on the phone. And I will create a list of people like that. This call gives you good value. Even with all this we're talking about now, you're getting value. You're getting information. Now, you may not realize it all, but everything is a big picture with the society. Our programs, our actual classes, our information, a conversation back and forth, that's all been played out for a reason, to give you a better picture of the society as a whole. Many of you are coming to the society from one dimension. My job as the senior mentor and the mentor for these programs is to give you the big picture, not just give you one piece of what's in a book. You need to know the whole picture, the types of programs we have, the connections, the phone numbers, the information. That is part of knowledge. That is part of awareness. We're here to be aware. The opening of this call, the first 20 minutes or 15 minutes, is for you to talk to each other and kid and joke. That's part of the class. It's no accident what goes on here. You don't think I haven't orchestrated everything that goes here? You don't really know me well, do you, if you think that? I've got this whole thing laid out. So when you may think that there's a lot of noise and all, that's not noise, that's energy. That's connection. That's fun. That's types of people. When you start to get into that, you're integrating to higher levels. I'm giving you housekeeping things for a reason. I could blow this off and just say, no recording, no nothing. You don't hear anything. Bye. I don't want that. I want you to have the recording. I want you to have the information. I want you to know about a program that's going to be of value to you. And I do this purposely. Yeah, I could sit here and just read from a book, but I'm not. I'll be honest with you. If you want me to read from a book, you don't want me as a mentor, because I'm not going to do that. And for all of you who try to trip me up, which I get a kick out of, they want to trip me up or try to within the material. Don't give me this outside la-la land stuff. I'm here to work neo-think in the material. That's my objective, and I want you to be a neo-thinker. One of the biggest things I'm finding as a mentor is our members spend too much time outside of neo-think, trying to spend all the time instead of getting into the book and reading it and studying it and understanding it. And I'm going to keep teaching you how to do that. So you be ready, because we're going to dig into right now about control. The first, discipline, thought, and control are the parts of the poker we're going to talk about. All right? And that's how we're going to look at life. So with that said, just know if you're rude, if you use foul language to me, if you try to attack me for a stupid reason, I will cut you off. And you will not be allowed back on anymore. You are not, anybody who thinks they're going to hurt me, you're hurting all the members. And I will never, ever allow that. Just remember that. I love you all. I want you to get the best mentoring possible. And I will never allow anybody to hurt you. And I will call them on it, because I have no fear about that. So I'm here to help you grow. So with that said, let's go play poker. I'm excited. Now, what do I say that for? What do I mean by let's play poker? Some of you haven't been on the call. Some of you haven't done this before. The first section of the Prime Discovery, which is the book we're studying, has to do with poker and the world of poker. Many of you remember Dr. Wallace started back in, well, he was actually working in DuPont and all. He was a poker player. And that was back in the 50s. But he played a lot of it when he moved on to Vegas, when he moved out to that area. And he became pretty good at it. But what he realized is this, everybody. It wasn't about the game in the sense of that's what he's trying to teach us. He's teaching us the game of life. That's the key. You want to write something down? Write that down. The game of life. The game of poker is the game of life. Now, in the letters you get from Mark Hamilton, let me be very clear about this. Mark writes the forces of nature. He writes that they're going to show you how to win at poker, how to get lotteries, etc. As you read more and more of Mark's writings, and you take his secret meetings, Mark explains the way he writes is called forces of nature. Now, what does that mean, everybody? Forces of nature. Some of you know, so say the answer to yourself. I will give it out. Mark understands us with our connection to our child of the past. And by the way, if anything's going too fast for anybody, I'm figuring out 98% of you listening gets this. But that 2%, don't worry, we can help you. The child of the past is our young child, who's our Zon. We didn't go into a lot of Zon tonight, but we're all Zons. We're born Zons. Our child of the past is connected, and that's that young person who still had the innocence factor of the Zon power before they went to school, before they got too much into the culture of their families, etc., which created us to go into that bicameral mentality, which brought us into that follower mode. But we learn as neo-thinkers, our Zon is still there. Our Zon has always been there, never left. It just got clouded over because of the way we were raised. So Dr. Wallace, who everybody knows is Mark Hamilton's father, and was watching, who was an avid poker player, was playing the game and was watching people, with their hands, watching them how they bid, how they used the chips, how they held their cards. Fascinating. Just holding your cards. Were they creasing them? Were they holding them like you take in one hand and not crushing, but bending them? These things. How did they hold them to be secure? Nobody saw them. Were they sweating? This is important, everybody. Were they sweating? Were their eyes bulging out? Were they, tapping their hands on the table? How many of us who have played poker in the past have been that observant? Maybe you have. I don't know. I was a big poker player in the 80s, and I don't remember being that observant. There was a bunch of guys. We played every Friday night. Every Friday night was poker night, and we did this for quite a while. And it was something that I don't remember, and I was a young man at the time. I'm a lot older now, but and we were all about the same age. We were all, guys, fathers with our kids, and this Friday night was our night, the guys' night. And I remember the intensity. Even though we had fun, we did bet. We did obviously put money on the table. We did raise the stakes. But we all took it seriously to a point. As I'm reading this poker analysis of Dr. Wallace's, I tried to go back to when I played poker myself and the guys I played with. Our Friday night, dad's night. We were all dads. And this was our night for us because Saturday, we were all playing soccer with our kids. So Friday night was the dad's night. And I remember as I read Dr. Wallace's material, and he talks about intensities. He talks about body language. He talks about hand movements. He talks about bidding. And I said to myself, okay, I was an AC person at the time. So was I really watching all this? And of course, Dr. Wallace uses names like John Finn, etc., and others, referring to the players. Obviously, I was going back to the guys I played with. And the reason why I bring this up to you is that if you are reading this and you have been a poker player, go back to how you acted in a game with your whatever, seriousness or plays or whatever it was. And this is for the women, it's for all of us. And start to think about what would be a foundation to be a better poker player, to be a better person playing at life. Playing at life. So what I wanted you to do is, poker is life. The game of poker is life, and that means the game of life. Let's just say it that way, the game of life. So we're going to be playing at the game of life. Well, Dr. Wallace says if you're going to play and be effective with it, you have to have specific techniques. Now, this is very important, everybody, because the three techniques, which you all should know, and I've been saying it all along, is discipline, thought, and control. Now, where else have we heard discipline, thought, and control? Think about it. Let's do some integration right now. Mark Hamilton talks about it in his writings. Harvey Firestone talked about it with Hard Thinking. Right? Remember the role models? We talk about discipline, thought, and control in the Self-Leader program. Discipline, thought, and control get into the 12 visions. Dr. Wallace is talking about it in the poker book, as well as other places. Now, why do I tell you that? Mark Hamilton explained to me back in 2008 that if you're going to get something ingrained in your brain, it must be indicated duplicate times, duplication. And it needs to be addressed in different areas. So what Mark Hamilton did as a follow-up to Dr. Wallace was say that in our literature, throughout all the books, remember we got up to 16 books, you will find discipline, thought, and control discussed multiple times. People don't understand that you'll say it's a fault that there's things written, rewritten, and double written again. There's no mistake for that, by the way, everybody. Mark writes it that way purposely. You get rewritten information because that's how you learn. Duplication. Duplicating it. Saying it again, say it over again, different ways. You see? Discipline, thought, and control are major foundation factors of the Neo-Think Society. But you see, it's all about mentality shifts. A big part of Neo-Think is the way we think in our minds and our brain power. And in order to do that, we have to have a thought process, we have to have a control process. We have to be able to discipline our minds, our bodies, and our emotions. Just like you do in the game of poker. Bingo, right? There you go. Just like we do in the game of poker. So, in this particular segment, and I'm going to address one particular area right now, and then I'm going to dissect it for you. Because again, I'm not going to read this all to you. I'm going to dissect something, because I'm your mentor. I'm not your reader. So, as your mentor, I'm going to address a particular paragraph that's on page 66 of the Prime Discovery, and it's in the very beginning. It says, the techniques for poker. And what did he say? The results of a good poker is control. The result of good poker is control. The result of living a good life is control. So replace poker with a good life. For living a good life, there are several things you must be doing. Control of self, of your opponents, and the game. Yourself, the opponents, and the game. What does that mean? These particularly mean people on Earth. The way life is built as a universal world of energy and the connection to the universe. And your control to be able to look at things objectively. Objectively. Not subjectively, objectively. So if you're going to be a good person at the game of life, and you're going to be a good control, your control of who you are, the way you approach life, the way you believe, what you think, of the way you interact with others. Now remember, our world is made up of all types of individuals. We have followers. We have bicameral. We have self-leaders. We have parasitical elites. We have liars. We have lazy people. We have value creators, value destroyers. It's a whole mixed bag. That's what you all have to understand, is that whole mixed bag. Where do you position yourself as a neo-thinker in the game of poker, the game of life? You position yourself, hopefully, as a value creator who looks at life in a moral way, who is a self-leader and does not allow yourself to have outside guidance, and you guide your own being, your own consciousness. But you see, you have that control. Discipline, thought, and control. Now, I'm going backwards and going forwards tonight. I decided to go to the end of the section, and we'll move it forward. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to learn specific integrations, maybe you've read the book, you may want to go back towards the last section and then read control, then discipline or thought, and then go backwards. Nothing wrong with that. Because guess what? That's going to teach you integrations. So mix it up a little bit. Play with it a little bit. Discipline, thought, control. And we're talking about control right now, not discipline and thought. But they all come together. Let's continue on with this. When the good player achieves self-control, which is you, the player of life, through discipline and understands his opponents through thinking, he can seize control of his opponents in the game. Wow. Have you ever thought about really looking at people in your life? Let me ask you right now, any of you who are living at home right now, make a point to look at the person in your life. And if you're a neo-thinker with another neo-thinker, look at each other. Really look at each other. And I'm not talking about as an opponent. Let that go. Look at each other right now. If you are in a space where you're with another neo-thinker and you both are in the same room right now, study each other right now. When was the last time you really, really looked at each other? You really studied each other. You really questioned the person. You really understood the person. It's time for our awareness to get stronger, everybody. Now, you all may not be in a room. I'm by myself here doing my thing, and I'm interacting with different rooms in my apartment. So that's my interaction. But when you're with somebody or several people, do you really study them? Or do you just be superficial about it? Flippant about it? One of the new techniques tonight for you as a control person is to study the people you're around. Look at them. Look at the way they dress. Look at the way they carry themselves. Look at the way they talk to you. How do they talk to you? What do they say? What kind of information do they give you and supply? Is it information that helps you grow and develop, or is it nothing? Is it a bunch of nothing? That's what you got to look at, everybody. If you're going to play the game of poker, when you're sitting around a table, are you looking at the eyes? Are you looking at the body language? Are you looking at the way they're holding the cards? Are you looking at what cards they put down, what cards they pick up? Do you study the person? The game of life, you're going to look at the person, how they speak, how they present themselves, how they dress, how they stand, how they eye contact you, what kind of shakes do they give you, handshakes. That's the game of life as a neo-thinker. Objectivity, not subjectivity. So don't assume anything. Create the answers to the questions. What kind of a dialogue do you get? How much is his intelligence really there? How much is it they're faking? How much is it they're really not that bright? Have you really ever sat there and analyzed somebody that way? Start now. Analyze the people around you. Analyze the people to get to know, are they compatible? Are they opponents? Are they good to be in your life? Are they good not to be in your life? You see, in NeoThink, you will do some house cleaning. It's the way it is. Not everybody is going to want to grow to a level you want to grow to. And if you stay too tight with this, you'll never get to your own growth, because I will guarantee their bicameral mentality will pull you back. And you'll lose and they'll win, if you want to say that. What I've learned is that you've got to cut the cord of individuals who do not want to be self-leaders, who do not want you to be a self-leader, who want you to be in their muck. You as a neo-thinker must get out of that muck. And you must move into your life of self-esteem, awareness, understanding. It's your destiny. How's that? It's your destiny because you're a neo-think for a reason. You came here because things are not working. We are giving you the secrets to do that. By the way, these are secrets. This is not, and if you say to yourself, oh, I already knew all this, bullshit, you didn't. You know why? Because I've talked to people, say, oh, we always knew that. Yeah, well, tell me what you changed in your life. What did you do? Nothing. So don't tell me you use this, because you don't. Because if you were using it, you'd be here talking and not me. Okay? You'd be doing all the goals and objectives you wanted in life. That's the bottom line. Because I know how tough it was for me to use it and develop it and believe in it. So you can't BS me saying you do it all because I know you don't. All right? For those people who say, oh, this stuff with Mark Hamilton, I knew all this all the time, blah, blah, blah. I said, good, then you teach it. You tell us how to use it. Just give us examples. Give us information. Nobody has taken me on it yet. And you better have the answers to my questions if you want to, because I will ask you questions. And I do ask the questions as to see how effective you are with it. So don't kid yourself. Why do you I'm not being mean here. I'm just saying, why would you kid yourself? You don't get it. You didn't have this knowledge. You didn't use it. You didn't look at somebody that objectively. You didn't decide to take people out of your life. So don't say you're using it. And I don't understand why you just can't be honest and say, I'm learning it, now I need to use it, do a new way of using it. In the game of poker, the game of life. That's how the winners work. And by the way, if you start having a losing streak, there's a reason why you need to get out of that. That's what Dr. Walls talks about, losing streaks as well as winning streaks. Losers and winners. And they use these techniques. When in control, you become the center of attention. He comments that the opponents, again, people you're playing poker with, spend a major portion of their time and effort trying to figure out your moves and then adjusting to them. They actually play according to the moves. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you are an actual neo-thinker, you are using disciplined thought and control. You are using hard thinking. You are using integrated thinking, living in reality. You are an objective thinker. You believe in yourself. You use self-discipline. You use that control. Your self-esteem is at the best. You will be noticed. Your opponents will notice you. Your opponents will be envious of you. And they'll want to know what it is about you. If you're using these techniques. What did Mark say and Dr. Wallace say in their writings? Especially, how many of you read the 56-page pamphlet and read about all these success stories? These are people who have been falling over to be around. These are people who have made quite a bit of money. These are people who found the love of their lives. These are people who reconnected with people when they were in the loser end, and their lives were in a better place because they've used the discipline, thought, and control of the poker mentality. You see, people in the society think poker is a way just to make money. Oh, I'm going to learn how to play poker and make millions. That's not what this is about. This is about you learning the concept of living life. Through life and your processes and tools and secrets and programs, you will then find your essence. You will then create a company mentality. You will create a business which will bring the income in because you're going to learn how to gain happiness. Oof, that was a lot, huh? Did I say it too fast? But did you get it? That's what we're doing here. You know, the money will come if you do the process. This is not a quick fix. And our talks that, yes, it comes across as if it is a quick fix because that's attracting our child of the past, which is adventure and excitement, enthusiasm. But the quick fix is how fast do you want to change? How fast will you put this material into your life? How fast will you use this material? That's the change. That's the process. But it's not a magic. There's no magic. That's all mystical. There's no psychics. That's all mystical. It's all creations and awareness and understanding, everybody. That's what it is. And that's what you have to get. So, what else does he say? He said, can force your opponents into traps. You can force them into wrong ways of making moves through the questions you ask, through the maneuvers that your strategies. See, when you're a leader or a self-leader, you're going to think from a self-leader mentality, not a follower mentality. As a self-leader, you're going to look at how I'm going to move forward, not how I'm been told to move forward. It's I am moving forward by my belief in who I am, by my essences, by my brain powers. Don't forget the brain powers. Mine. You see, the other secret, you take control. A good poker player takes control of his hand. If he loses, he accepts that loss, but he gets ready to get the next hand going because he takes responsibility for his moves. He doesn't blame another player for losing a hand. He takes the control, and the reason why it will happen is if you lose focus and you're playing a hand, and this I do know, and you're talking and you're losing your control, you are going to bid differently. You're going to take the wrong cards or too many. You're going to put down a possibly good hand because you're not thinking, you're not focusing. In life, we will give in to things. We will allow others to inhibit us. We will allow fear to take over. You can't let that happen. Don't let fear take you over. One of the things I recommend, and I do this, and I was taught this by my aunt, and I think many of you may use this, and I do this at times, I put a rubber band on my wrist. And if I'm in a situation, this is just a piece of information if you're interested, I snap the rubber band. So if I get into a fear or there's something I've said or not made, I'm concerned if I said or not, I'll snap the rubber band, and the rubber band brings me to focus. It makes me think again. So you see, we're still learning how to control our thinking process. We're still learning how to make our thinking work for us because we're not there yet. Our discipline, thought, and control is not in place yet, especially our control. So you may want to try that. Just could be actually, I've got the bracelets I use, which is, embracing life and living, and I snap those. Just to say, hey, wait a minute. Come on, come back. Come on back, control. And that little bit of pain, which is no big deal, it's just a snap, wakes me up. Because we have a tendency to move into that follower mode. So the control. Now, what else? Let's go to a little bit of thought. So let's go back. I'm going back pages. I'm going from page 66. I'm going back, and I'm looking into page 63. The good player continually thinks about poker during the game. And he quickly looks at the cards with time to observe them and think about them. What does that mean to you and me? We have to take life very seriously. The majority of people in this world coast through life. They're in la-la land. They're bobbleheads who just go by. Do you really get up in the morning and you think about the world around you? Do you look out and see the trees? Do you look at the roads? Do you look at the info and get yourself focused to the world? Or are you just on what they call coast mode and you just go? Start to think like a neo-thinker. Think in awareness. Think in focus of who you are is awareness in your connection to the world. All right, what I've given you tonight was control, and I'm giving you to think of awareness. We don't have a lot of time left, but I hope you got that material, and now I'm going to pass it over to Charlie because I feel like I've overlapped this time. But Charlie, there's a lot of material here. I couldn't let this go. And you've got 5 minutes or so. We got time. Just any thoughts and input to reinforce it, and then we'll wrap it up next week.
Yeah, definitely. I played a lot of poker when I was younger, and I played like with friends, like something like you did, 2 or 3 times a month. But when I got into the Navy, and I was watching them play poker, it was a lot more serious. It was really cutthroat, and it was so. I didn't play for a while, but I was watching, and I was always a people watcher to begin with. So at the time, I did not know I was really doing discipline, thought, and control playing poker. But I was watching how these guys played, So when I actually sat down and started to play, you know, the first couple of times I did, I didn't win much, but then I started to get better and better at it. But I was fine-tuning my skills at reading these people. And to make this really short and sweet here, he talks of, you know, a lot of people don't get that this poker book that he wrote is not about poker, it is about life. But if you look at these serious players who are out there now making a living playing poker, they're doing it because they're doing discipline, thought, and control. Because you can't win at poker consistently waiting for luck to happen. You're not going to get a good hand every hand. But if you act the same and you have that discipline that you're not showing that you have a good hand or a bad hand, you can win a lot of you can win a lot of hands in poker with a bad hand if you're consistent. Because if you sit there, I mean, what you said, there was one guy who was like, he was like a stone. He didn't change his expression. He didn't do it, you know, when we were playing in the Navy. It was intimidating to play with him because you couldn't see inside it. He didn't give away anything. He acted the same if you had a good hand or a bad hand. He was totally in control. And his discipline was unbelievable. And that's intimidating. So if you go through life like that, you know, that you are determined, you are not giving away anything, and you constantly have you knew the guy had confidence, and you couldn't break him. That's intimidating. People would fold with a good hand because they couldn't tell if he was on or not. And life is like that. We have to continually to go through life being confident, but you can't do it unless you have discipline, thought, and control. You have to have control of your life. And many days will help you do that. Obviously, that's where the discipline, I think, to me comes in. Because you really have to do this kind of in order. You have to be disciplined first. And then it helps the mind start to think more. And the thoughts start getting deeper and deeper. And that's when you actually start to take control of your life. It really is a 1, 2, 3 step here. But they're all related. And you all have to match together. You have to have the strength of all three of them. But it pays off so where you will walk away and you walk through your life with so much more confidence. People will see somebody who is confident. They'll see somebody who is strong, that quiet power that we talk about here. And then if you do play poker, and if you play poker the way that you do your life, you'll win more than you will lose. Because I think a lot of people, most people, they go through life waiting for that luck to begin. And then all of a sudden, gee, if I can just hit that lottery that one time and be lucky, my life is set. Well, that's how a lot of bad poker players lose, you know, because they just are waiting for luck. You can turn out, like you can have good luck every night that you play poker if you play with discipline, thought, and control. So it just all goes into how much control do you have over your actions, your thoughts, the way you sit, the way you look at people, the way you handle a bad hand, the way you handle a good hand. It all should be the same all the time. And it's very intimidating. So you can intimidate people to make the, you know, to have more control over any situation that you're in because you have discipline, thought, and control, because you're near thing. It always has the edge. And the edge starts with discipline, thought, and control. Every time. And I'll stop there, Steve, for now.
Excellent, Charlie. We'll get you back on more next week.